we look at 2024 and then catapult forward as if it was 2025. I think that I could have done it myself, but I would have just been making stuff up. So what I needed to do was invite two people from the industry that really know what they're talking about, and then I can bask in their reflective glory. So I would hardly need to do an introduction, but I will anyway. First of all, we have Lisa Jones. Lisa, where have you been? And you've been a legend all of my lifetime. So please welcome to Kyloe's Wrapped. And also joining us, we've got Matt Kumar. Matt has had many hats. He's not wearing his hat today, but he is illustrating how many times he's been to Bullhorn Engage. And we're going to look at what's happened in 2024. So I'm going to start off by saying, Lisa, what have been the trends of 2024? What have you seen?
What have I seen? I've seen that everybody's talking about AI, obviously, which I know is on the agenda for today. I've seen certainly my client base starting to become more educated and scientific with automation rather than just turning it on. I've seen a realization that data can be just as important as your people, when we're always told your people are our most important asset. And I've always been, your data is quite important as well. And I've seen that recruiter productivity has become a really big deal, especially as now a lot of my clients have got that hybrid or remote working model. So if it's not on the system, it doesn't exist, has become more important than ever before.
Wow. Sounds like something we've been saying forever. Matt, what have you seen, mate? What are the trends of 24?
It's been a tough year, hasn't it?
It's been hard.
It's continuing.
Really hard.
Yeah, it's been a hard year. So trends, I don't think there's been any easy wins. I think if we look back over the past, maybe not the past 2 years, but past 5 years, I think every business has had some kind of easy wins that have come out. Feels like this year in particular, every win has been fought for. Every yard has been battled for, I feel, this year. Automation, that uptick in that has been continuing, and obviously AI. I think for me, efficiency has been the big one, right? There's a stat going around at the moment that there's 32% less recruiters, not recruitment agencies, but 32% less recruiters in this industry now than there were going in to the year at the start of the year. So it's about a third of people have left. And what I'm hearing and speaking to a lot of people is they're not going to competition. That's what used to happen, right? They'd leave one recruiter to go to the next recruiter. They're going out of industry, right? They're leaving the industry. And part of me is like, ooh, that's kind of sounds scary. But then the other part of me is like, that presents a good opportunity though for other businesses.
Yeah.
Like when there's a third less people to compete against, it kind of feels quite nice, probably on that front. And I think that businesses, the automation AI piece is all part of this efficiency thing where maybe we just didn't need that third of people. Maybe that's the job loss. Maybe that's the cuts that have been required to happen. And maybe 2024 was brutal in that respect, but also maybe
right sizing.
Yeah, exactly. Right sizing, spot on. Much more eloquently put than I've said it. But maybe that was what we needed to have happen for the industry in 25 to adopt technology better and kind of come out of it that way.
Yeah, no, I think as I was thinking about today, I wrote down that you just needed to stay alive in 2024. That you'd probably had an amazing 2020. Well, you didn't have an amazing 20, but you had an amazing 21, 22, and you thought it was because of you, when in fact it was the market. Well, the rising tide rose all boats, and then the sea started to go out, or the tide started to go out, and then those that maybe had a lot of people because they had a lot of business had forgotten how to get new business. And off the back of that, it's been staying alive. We've certainly had customers who didn't make it through the year, who, if we'd looked at the beginning of the year, we'd have thought, hey, they're gonna grow in the year, and they just didn't. So there are recruiters out there. If you're listening, you stayed alive in 24. Great. If you've grown in 24, you're probably in the top 25% of all businesses out there. And if you've found a new niche, then respect to you all. So what's been the sort of worries or the barriers to do that in 24 that you've seen? And we won't spend too long looking at 24, but it's always good to reflect back before we look forward.
I would say the barrier in a lot of instances is, where do I start? I think I'm a bit of a data girl. You guys know this. And I think that there's too much of it and it's spread all over the place. And I think that recruiters have become quite upset recently with the realization that a lot of them are reliant on job boards and LinkedIn, as an example. And I think that, and it's something I've been saying for a very long time. You could go back in time in some of my really old blogs where I looked a lot younger, where I always used to say CRM first. Oh, great filters on my MS Teams. But I was saying CRM first way 2 decades ago.
You are.
And I'm still saying it now. It's Bullhorn first now instead. Nice and a bit of an evolution that I've been through. But I think for me, it's that realization that LinkedIn and job boards for me can be distracting. They also, when recruiters are really using this technology, they are potentially overtly admitting that they haven't got a handle on their own communities. I find it interesting that recruiters still advertise most of their jobs or a lot of their jobs immediately after taking a job brief from a client who's read on their website that they're niche specialists. It doesn't add up in my head. So I think one of the biggest barriers this year for a lot of my clients has been data. I would also say as well, for some of them, it's they seem to have quite a psychologically linear approach to how they do things. And I do specialize in working with a kind of like sub 60 size businesses. And often they think they have to do stuff before they can do something else. So they almost feel like they have to clean the house before they can get it cleaned, as opposed to just almost like a staggered approach to business development, cleaning up a small bit of data and then weaponizing it and moving forward. And I just think that's the lack of confidence maybe in actually really being quite bullish in the market. Because they've been quite blindsided over recent years. Several events have really knocked them off their perches. But I do think that data has been a massive barrier. What do you think to that, Matt? What are you seeing?
Yeah, I think it's been a perfect storm, hasn't it? It's been coming this year. We've got the talent shortages that we were talking about 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years ago. That has not been solved, right?
Yeah.
So we've got this backdrop of actually just not having enough people.
Yeah.
To do things, and then you have critical events that have gone on, like wars and things like that happen.
The odd election
that creates the elections everywhere. I always think, you know, that meme. It's like, not another one. It's like, yeah, it was like that was been going on. You know, there's a lot of these kind of global events that have gone on, which is just creates uncertainty in business, right? And it's trickle down effect, right? It might not hit you today, but it will hit you, right? And it will have an impact. But people, even then, in those tighter kind of markets, people have still wanted really good people. It's not like everyone is frozen hiring. I remember the last economic crisis and worked through that in recruitment. Nobody was hiring people. Like, that was the evident thing. I had so many candidates, but I couldn't find anywhere to actually put them. It was so difficult to get a job. So probably was fortunate enough to have learned business development through really tough periods like that. Here we've got talent shortages, global uncertainty, teams that have never had to do business development. Not all the teams. We've got a lot of people have never had to do this before in really tough environments. And then at the same time, we've added this extra layer on the top, which is like, we've got AI that's come in, and this huge pace of change that's going on with tech adoption. Like these S curves, if anyone's seen me talk about these S curves that happen, it's like tech goes like up, and then it shelves and plateaus for a bit, and then it goes up. They're getting steeper, those climbs, as technology is getting faster and faster. And so I think it's all come together at like just in 2024, basically back end of 23 through 24. I think that's where I've really seen kind of those challenges that have come about. And yeah, it's I feel like it's just kind of centralized itself now in this year. And you can feel that, right? Everything feels like a lot right now, and has done for a little while. That said, you know, these are, I mean, obviously we're talking about challenges, but we've also seen recruiters, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, but there's been recruiters that have gone like, yeah, we love a challenge, and this is how we're going to overcome it. And then you look at their results and you're like, oh, this isn't like Hayes's results, where everyone's been drawing pictures of that and say, well, if Hayes are down, everyone. Actually, we've got some clients who completely bucked that trend and have adopted and have managed through change and have gone through the processes that and actually coming out the other end in a really good state off the back of it. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom by any stretch. And I think as the years gone on, that resilient level and the natural selection kind of maybe has kind of gone on and has started to plateau. Like you say, like those companies who've really dug into their data. I've done the basics, the things you've been talking about for 20 years, have done that really well and are doing well off the back of it. It goes to show that if you follow those kind of rudimental kind of values and tech traits, then I think you are coming out on top from that side of things.
Yeah, I go back to I was fortunate enough to be down in Australia at the beginning of the year, and I met up with an old buddy of mine from the spring days, a guy called Simon Hare. And Simon and I went for a coffee, and we were sort of going, yeah, we've been here before, haven't we? And he said, yeah, remember this. And I asked him, what are you doing? And he said, relationships.
Totally.
Yeah. He was targeting people to meet a candidate and meet a client every day. And if his consultants didn't have an expense bill for at least a lunch and 5 coffees and maybe a dinner in a week, he was measuring them on how many people have you met, how many people have you taken out, how many people have you built relationships with, because they're going to remember you when things turn around. Because I think in Australia it was maybe slightly earlier than here, and they were dealing with it. So yeah, I think relationships and BD, you've both said. And what have you seen people do to get over it now? Whether it's tech, whether it's advice, whether it's just being able to work it out themselves, because I think there's maybe a shortage of people with memories who remember what it was like last time we went into a downturn, and lots of people who knew what to do. So have you seen anybody who's had a particularly clever way of dealing with that?
I think very much for me, it's just that focus. And there's no, I always used to giggle at the question years ago. Oh, because all of us, the three of us, have always been on the other end of a phone where a client said, "What's new? What's the tech? What's the new thing?" And I'd always be like, "Well, the coolest tool," or the question would be, "What's the coolest tool right now?" And as much as both of you are, well, you're both cool tools, and you have cool tools. I mean, I've got a cool tool as well. Welcome to the club. But I would absolutely say that what still sits at the heart of it is the recruiter and how they're engaging with this stuff. And again, quite quick monologue, but I'm a big fan of you can build the most amazing, Formula One, the most amazing Grand Prix car. But if Lewis Hamilton goes, nah, not interested. It's not.
I can't fit in the seat.
Yeah, absolutely. For whatever reason, or it's a bit rainy, then that car's not going to get driven. And what I have seen this year, the clients of mine that have really gone forward is, first of all, they've not waited for permission to do the right thing. They focused on specific muscle groups, whether it be BD or account management, and they've become brilliant at it. They've built automations to really drive that behavior and cleaned up the data within it. But they've actually got the recruitment consultant back in the heart of the process. So yes, they might be automating. Yes, they might be getting down the AI route. But like you've said, it is all about relationships, because recruitment is still a really human process. And I still giggle a little bit when people say to me, "Oh, but if I automate, it's gonna make it, it's going to dehumanize it." I'm like, no, it's actually going to rehumanize it. Most recruiters are drowning in data and drowning in systems, and there's not enough process. And process is normally the bit that humans really think about and engineer. And for me, the ones that have done really well this year have gone, right, let's do the right thing, or business leaders that have woken up to potentially what their business might have become in recent years and had to get back inside. I mean, I work with lots of smaller businesses who might have 20 to 30 staff, and the business leaders have had to get re-engaged with it.
Back on the tools.
Because they realise that since they stepped away from it, it's become a very quiet, non-phone driven, let's see how much we can send out and hope it sticks process. And they're coming back in and going, my business has been devalued by all of this blindsiding, you know, since Brexit or since COVID or all of the other crap that's going on in the world right now. They're having to get back in and get, I hate the word basic because it makes it sound derogatory, but ultimately, human relationships are the most important part of the process. And that's the bit that seems to have taken a bit of a backseat in recent years, I'd say.
Yeah,
you're at the front of this, Matt, on the whole customization. How are you? What have you done there? Because I know you've got some customers that have gone clever on this, or personalization, customization is probably what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we've done this year is connecting sales and marketing up better than they've been connected previously. Like fundamentally, that's been a big task of ours. So in the bullhorn world, you know, we have a lot of people who focus on like candidates and jobs, like sending candidates in jobs, but they forget about the B2B side of it, where marketing teams are very good at generating client opportunities in a very tough business development environment. And in those environments, you need any win that you can get. So if you've got a marketing team that's been putting out great content, but then the downloads of that hasn't been getting routed through to sales teams, which happens quite a lot, that's been a problem. So we've done a lot of work with Bullhorn, kind of integrating that process together, so that sales teams are getting pings through automation to say, hey, you've got a new download of this, contact them. So they're straight on the front foot on the B2B trail with their customers. I think that is then almost like on par or maybe secondary, I'm not sure, with just really hard work is what people have been doing. I was saw a clip from Hisham's podcast where there was a chap and he's talking about how he wants all of his team leads to be billers, and like they should be 500-600k billers, like as a team leader, not this, oh, it's just a management position, you don't have to bill. Back to that, like getting back in the trenches kind of concept. That is exactly what I've been seeing from the top companies. So they have embraced their brand. They have definitely made things easier for people to transact online. We've slickened a lot. Slickened a word? It is now. We've slickened a lot of things up. We have connected a lot of things together a bit better than they have been. We've we've increased that type of stuff and traffic and all those kind of things. But fundamentally, I think the customers of ours that have done best or seem to be doing the best are ones where they have doubled down on hard work, and they have, dare I say, become a smart. Sorry,
God forbid a recruiter has to work for a living. Smart.
Well, and I think the good thing is that a lot of those leaders have been in recruitment through really rubbish times, right? And they've seen how hard it can be to do BD in those times. One thing I will say is that they have become ruthless against poor performance. More so than they would ever have let slide in the last few years. And I will say, I was at, for Engage, we had like 20 of our customers in a room, went for some dinner. And one of the trends...
What a good idea that was.
Somebody gave me that idea. It was brilliant, whoever it was, that person, Raymond, who gave me that idea. But one of the themes in that room is, with the upcoming changes to employment law in the UK, what are we doing? And the common theme was we're getting more ruthless with new employees into our business in terms of their KPI metrics tracking and performance. We are not letting it slide, whereas we might have previously given them the 6 months. You know, they're 2 months in, not working, gone. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that heading into 2025 as well. So those companies that they've become hardened. It's been a tough year, but I think they've also realized what is and isn't working in their businesses throughout this process.
It's confidence, it's control, it's resilience, it's straightened spines and going, if I keep going in this direction, I'm going to end up over there. Or I need to be over there. I mean, I always used to do lots of battle planning in a previous life with my clients, where I'd say, right, if you want to be over there, we need to then imagine we're there right now, and then do a little bit of like NLP to figure out the steps that you should have taken to get there. And how long that would take. And I think because the recruitment industry often struggles with quite a short-term mentality, and also because it's normally managing the hopes and dreams of people outside of its business, candidates and clients, who are often not as honest with us as we'd like them to be. So there's lots of excuses and reasons why things aren't as fluid or in a straight line. But I do think the smart working, the hard working, the resilience and the control. I mean, you said something earlier on that triggered me to write something down, Matt, about people have taken more control of their brands. And so they flipping should, because especially if they're going out less and they're meeting people less, and very importantly, the recruiter workforce is potentially quite new in comparison to what it was a few years back. I mean, if you're right in saying that it's gone down by a third, it's not necessarily just the newbies that have gone. It might be the oldies that have gone as well. And a very wise person said to me once, your brand is what people say about you behind your back, right? Or when you've left the room. And I have often seen recruitment brands, whether it be individuals or collections of people, being a bit pants online, not being strong enough online, and leaving their brand to whoever has got control of the mouse at any given time, or maybe an unqualified marketeer that's not necessarily got their finger on the pulse of what the board are trying to achieve. And then as a result of that, the rest of the conversation really struggles. The challenge that you've then got is if your brand is what people say about you behind your back, and then you automate that, you're automating who knows what. And you've completely lost control of the message, which I know, Matt, that's something that's very close to your heart as well. But I do think that resilience and that control is important. And like I say, no one's going to write to you with a letter and go, now is your time. You've got, as a leader, your job is to go, my time was actually yesterday. and actually, if I say to any client that rings me today, what do you want to stop talking about? You know, in 6 months' time, if you're still saying X and you're annoyed with yourself because you've not fixed it, what is it? And most of the time it's getting recruiters back on the phone, having meaningful conversations, not just phone bashing. And of course, it's never been easier, I think, to have a meaningful conversation, because it's never been easier to automate the warm-up process, to automate the list of people that need to have that call. And also to realise that maybe some of the younger recruiters don't have the resilience to just keep bashing the phones all day. And that's potentially why we're losing so many of them.
Yeah, the control piece is a huge one right now. And I'll give you an example of where we're seeing it. Because I agree with everything you said there. The big, like, taking back of control right now. Yeah. And this is right across our customer base. Is agencies who have been using multi-posters, who are now not using multi-posters. This isn't like a shot against multi-posters, but it's just kind of the reality of probably what's happening. And what they are doing is they are using their website and their social media channels to drive everything they possibly can into those two channels. And it's like, it's that ownership piece of like, can we drive? I mean, like, just practically speaking, if we think back like maybe 10 years, the amount of job boards was like so much more higher than it is now, right? There were so many niche job boards. Everyone had a niche job board. You could fire one up for a couple $100 a month, right? Everyone had a job board. We were joking at one point that we were going to set up a job board for every street name in the UK, because you could just have like, everyone could have a very specific job board. What we're seeing now is obviously there's job boards, and the number of job boards that people post to has come down dramatically. There's probably 10 maybe like kind of job boards that people actually use on a frequent basis. Therefore, the requirement for the multi-posting out to 10, to 10, maybe it's not there, right? Maybe it's more of a manual thing. But what we're seeing is people actually just ditching that altogether. They're posting jobs directly from CRM to website. They're then using distribution tools to put that out through their social media, programmatically advertise through social, especially at higher volume type stuff. And they are saying, well, this is our media. We are owning our own brand. It's our shop on the high street again. We're not selling through drop ships anymore. Like, this is our shop on the high street. And that has been a huge, towards the back end of the year in particular. Our biggest customers have been driving this, definitely. The kind of the multinationals, but it is definitely, it's trickled down quite quickly, in that people are really looking to control that process, like more direct integration piece than I've ever seen in this industry by a long way.
But it's removing the excuses that maybe the younger recruitment generation, and I don't want to talk about them as if they're a million years younger than me, but there is a little bit of a generational gap where for those of us that started out in the early 2000s, phone bashing was like a skill, wasn't it? And it was like, that's where the resilience was built, because if you hit the phone hard enough, eventually you would get to the gold. You don't have to actually do that anymore, which is interesting. If you've sorted out your data, and you've got a good brand, smart branding process that actually creates excuses. Like you say, I mean, I used to work in a shoe shop a few years ago. That was one of my first jobs before I went to uni. And if someone was walking around the shoe shop, that's a buying signal, isn't it? Yeah.
Going into a shoe shop's quite a buying signal.
Yeah. But even, as a very basic concept. But it's only, even now, recruitment businesses that have got websites are not engaging with the people on their websites and converting them into paying clients or candidates that are going to pay with their CVs. That it's almost like the candidate and client has to really prove themselves to earn a call. Yep. And it's like, but it's never been easier to actually weaponize that relationship. That it's that I don't want a chatbot because it's really it's not really inhuman. It's going to give the candidate and client an opportunity to hand you their details, and then
have a better call.
This is it. Nobody cares at 11 o'clock as long as someo's dealt with it, whether it's a robot or a human.
Did you see the Klarna information that came out about their adoption of AI? So they've got rid of 700 jobs in customer success by bringing in kind of AI and AI chatbots. Now, they don't strike me as the friendliest company in the world. I could be wrong about that, but just the nature of what they do, isn't it? But they are saying that there is now another 1,800 jobs at risk because of what they're looking to do with that. Because it's been that successful, right? You can hate it or not, but the reality is that if they've put it in, they clearly benchmarked what it was like before that, saw the impact it was having, and have made that decision off the back of it, whether we agree with that or not. And I think that you might see a bit more of that. And to your point, if people aren't using it on their website, but it can provide a better experience, why aren't they using it on the website?
Absolutely.
You can say, it's dehumanizing it, but if it makes you more profitable, or it makes you more, maybe it makes you a better customer organization being 24/7 and be able to provide that, then maybe people want to have a look at that and at least trial it. Different times of the day, maybe, or things like that.
Well, in my younger days, recruiters used to get in the office at 7 a.m. and they used to leave 7 or 9 o'clock in the evening. And why did they do that? Because candidates were normally not available between key working times. Absolutely. And of course, the way that the world is now with work-life balance and all of that stuff, people don't want to do those hours anymore. And I'm like, well, I have a bit of an issue with, if you've got to hit your sales target, you need to get your finger out. However, actually, with the advent of all of this new tech, well, I say it's new. We all know it's not new. It's been around for freaking ages, but it's only new in the zone of now I need it. That it's never been easier to actually have comms with these people. So at least they're handing over their problem and they know that someone's got it for the next day. But
everyone's a sucker for a response. Everyone's a sucker for a response at the time they want it. No one wants to wait.
No, and they're not going to analyze.
A good response and a good chat, and you've given more information. What you expect back is when someone comes back to you, they already know that, and they've built it into the conversation they're going to have with you. Because you could have an amazing chatbot that throws all the information away and just sends an email to someone and say, hey, we had a call with Raymond. Here you go. And then you've got to revalidate those that add it into the process and go, you call that blah about this. We've already helped you with these things. And now I'd like to speak to you on a slightly deeper level. They're going to be the winners.
So I'm having a flashback, Raymond.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to say, I'm having a flashback, and I'm going to use a word. You're going to tell me if you can remember when you talked about it. Barnacles.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Absolutely.
Still the case, isn't it, that there is this thing called barnacle tech, or bloatware.
And it's becoming even more prevalent, because barnacle tech, back in my day, was things that you added on to the ship of your CRM that added functionality. Yeah. That's fine. Imagine today, recruiters are buying their own barnacles. So not only has the company got some tech that they do or don't need, they may or may not have trained it particularly well.
Yeah.
Individual consultants have their own accounts to things that they're buying themselves in order to help them down the road. And that maybe takes us a little bit into the next part of the day, which is speaking about what do we see in 2025 and what do we see in tech in 2025. And I've got two questions. The first answer, you can't use the term AI. So what do you see in 2025 that doesn't have the word AI in it? And you're not allowed to say automation either. They're two things that you can't have.
Okay, can I've got one that is the counter to those letters that you've just said. I think there's going to have to be some kind of level of control that comes in to offset the amount of generated content in the hiring space that is commoditizing job applications.
Yep.
Everyone
I
has
noticed
seen...
how you dodged. I noticed how she dodged the word
Very good,
that generates them. Yeah, well done.
I'm a politician in my part time.
Yeah, good.
Never. The Canva and Mawson both ran separate questionnaires into the how many people have been using like GPT and stuff like that for their data, and it's about 50% of all content that you're seeing is now generated by this software, right? I think that then sort of says to me, what's the point in needing it, right? If anyone, truthful or not, can put something together that looks good enough that can get to a job interview, can get them through a process, then I think we need some kind of counter to that. The natural thing for me, and I spoke at an event about this, the natural thing for me would be some kind of blockchain related technology that comes in and validates people's careers as like a CV wallet. And I think there are things out there that sort of do this now, but I think we might see more of that. I think we should see more of that, where you say, you don't need you to go and send this over, just connect your wallet here, and it verifies the identity of the person, their work history, their references, their skills-based assessments is all done through this as one place. And that then basically negates the need to worry about people using GPT and this whole, because like if I see another LinkedIn post about, what do you do when somebody puts an AI related, I can't say it, damn, I failed at the first hurdle.
Darn it.
What did you, at least I'm talking about the negative side of it.
Yes.
But you know, if I see one more AI generated, blah, 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 well, okay, fine. But what are you going to do actually about that? Because it's not going to stop. I don't feel like this is going to slow down. So what are we going to do to counter it? So I think next year we should start to see that technology become more prevalent, which is the verification side of things, and actually checking who people are and what they've done on a real basis, rather than waiting for some generative app to do that fairly pointless legwork for people. So I think that will be something we should start to see a bit more of next year. I hope so, anyway. I don't know who's going to do it, but somebody had a product called CV Wallet, right? I think maybe that.
Yeah. I don't know. I think what I get a little bit upset about is, and I'm going to I'm sorry, but I'm not a yes person, so I'm going to talk about AI. I'm upset.
That was
with
the next question. So you just skipped it.
It went well, didn't it?
Yeah, it did.
I genuinely don't have a problem with AI, quote unquote. I especially don't have a problem with it, with the way that it might help certain recruiters level the playing field if they've got neurodivergence or just issues with how they communicate online, considering that's the majority of the job these days. I do think, obviously, the way that they use it needs to improve, so it doesn't look so meticulous, might be a polite way of putting it. I think it's a good playing field leveler for some out there. We know that in the recruitment industry, it's classed as being a low barrier to entry because of the way that it's been born into society. So I think if anything, the tools that are often built for people that are involved as a candidate or client. But I don't necessarily see enough tools for the recruitment consultant, which again is the coolest tool on the block. And it's helping them become more productive and more effective, bearing in mind that their leaders are regularly frustrated with the lack of hours that are being put in and the lack of resilience that the current generation of recruiters might be showing. I think more technology needs to be developed to help these people become more turbo driven. I don't know what you think about that.
So I have a fear about that. And I think that will happen. By the way, I think technology will appear there, but I have this fear. I think we've kind of touched on. I don't think any of us would disagree and say that business development right now is hard, right? And it's hard because it's a scale issue largely. Like how somebody's recruiting, I just don't know who is basically probably is likely to be a conversation today. Yeah, I need to find them. My fear is this, that. You've seen like the avatar apps where it like takes your face and makes you a bit more.
Hey Jen, Hey Jen is brilliant.
Hey Jen, I've used that one. Vidyard has one which I put together at an event. I saw one the other day which I took a screenshot of. There's a bunch of them that are out there, and they're getting better and better and better and better. That's what technology does, right? It gets better and better and better and better. I worry that people are then just going to have some kind of like, we've seen it already with the email world. Hey Matt, you've done a great job building these companies. It's like, no, you've not seen that. You've put it into like a clay table, and you've done, and you put it into an email, smart send or something, and you've sent me an email instantly or whatever. I have this fear. I have two fears. One, that Indeed are going to do it, and they're going to have 50,000 Indeed recruiters that are all AI agents, and they're going to absolutely flood the market, right, with fake people that are all doing business development, and it'll probably be pretty good, right? Yeah.
And LinkedIn. LinkedIn miles off that.
Yeah, 100% LinkedIn going to do it. Or somebody weaponizes this as a product for recruiters, and they just go, oh, well, I don't have to do the BD if my avatar is doing the BD for me. And they just start feeding it script, and that becomes business development. Now, my fear is that it then, how do you differentiate between the good business development and the bad business development? Like, how do you differentiate between the real person sending you an email where they've taken time to think about it versus the throw enough against the wall and hope some of it sticks kind of approach to things? That is my fear for next year, that actually and I think it'll happen, right? I think we'll start to get more of this generated content via video and telephony. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. Because people are going to take the shortcut, right? People are going to, there are going to be a lot of recruiters that are struggling, and they think, well, I can just do this and get 500 BD calls a day done in this thing. And it's going to be like, all of them are going to be terrible.
Which is the counter to AI Apply, because AI Apply for 157 quid will allow you to apply to 250 jobs every night.
Nice.
So BD in Video Apply, which is very personalized to you, is going to be out there, and we're going to have to go through it a little bit. I didn't get to use my word. I wanted to use the word enrichment, which isn't AI. So my non-AI context thing for 2025 was going to be enrichment. And whilst we speak about our data being, or recruiters' data being important, and it is, it can be out of date. And it can be out of date just because it didn't really get updated even though you knew. So therefore, the capturing of additional information, Matt and I have a conversation. Why should one of us have to type it into a database? Why should one of us have to update that Matt's no longer at Volcanic, now he's at SourceFlow, and it's miles better? The situation is that will be done for you. And then you've got these tools, and there are many of them, lots of marketplace partners and lots that aren't marketplace partners, Bullhorn, that do enrichment. And I think enrichment is becoming the thing that will make maybe some of our outreach, or the person who is doing it still themselves, better, because they'll now have the most up-to-date details rather than being the person, hey, Matt, saw you did a really good website in 2020. Oh, I'd really like to check about how you did it. And you're like, I've moved on. I've so moved on.
Yeah.
And I think the enrichment I'm now seeing on both sides, candidate enrichment and contact enrichment, and it being a way where the phone is easier for the recruiter to pick up, because they've not only got the information that was on their database, but they've also enriched it with other contextual things. And because of that context, they're going to make a much better call. They're going to make a much better call.
I did a webinar with Liran from Woo, and Lisa, you and I spoke about this as well, where I asked him a question about candidate experience, and by the end of that, we've got rid of the word candidate experience and called it personal relationships. And I think that's what enrichment does. It helps you build better personal relationships because you have all the information about each other, like you do. Like if I see you, Raymond, I'm going to say, how's the family? What have you been up to? How's the golf, which, I
Yeah.
was like, I ask about everything. And then next time I'm going to remember that, hopefully.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, you were, you were hitting off 20 last time I saw you.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's going to go down a little bit. But that's building personal relationships by asking those. I don't say, what's my human experience with Raymond looking like these days, right? It's, so what's my personal relationship looking like? And I think enriching data is the tech way of doing that, of building those better relationships. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
And as the AI models become more and more active, and GPT-4 having a web search on it, and Claude being even further ahead of that, is going to be the point that it's going to say, "Hi, Matt. How was the football at the weekend?" Because it knows from somewhere else where you were at the weekend. So it's going to make it hyper personalized, because it's going to know what you did or what you were last posting about, and weaving that in, which again is Clay on steroids, but it's becoming further, and it's going to write in your style because you give it all of your writing. I was delighted when I uploaded my writing into Claude AI, and it gave you a profile. And it said tech visionary. And I was like, hey, I could have that. And then I asked it to write two things, and boy, it had the same spelling mistakes as I make on a regular basis in there. So it had humanized my outreach if I chose to use it.
Yeah.
There is, I don't want to be controversial. She says,
Boy, stop now.
labeling what I'm about to say, bad girl. But I just think we're just so missing a trick, because we're so much into the tech. But what's still at the heart of that is either untrained recruiters, or not well enough trained recruiters in a market where they're being managed by people who did the job very differently when they were doing it.
Yeah.
And also what I always see, going back to the first question about what was the barrier this year, genuinely often the management layer not really knowing how the tech that they bought their staff actually how it works, or more importantly, when it needs to work.
And that gets worse when they've lost some people, and the people that they may have lost may have been in the middle, and they were the ones that knew how it all stuck together. And then all of a sudden it's like, hey, can you help me? Because I don't know how my tech stack works.
Totally. We the term WIFM, what's in it for me, and I always say what's in it for managers, because that begins with them as well. And I look at that, and I always say, as much as often the technology, again, we're still talking about recruitment consultants, which again, I still speak to clients who go, next year has to be about the job title consultant and what it is these people are actually doing on their, job spec. Whereas a lot of recruiters now are recruitment coordinators. And there is a big difference between that. And so as much as we can absolutely talk about the tech, it's still about weaponizing the human. And I'm a big fan of, we can list all the tech that they potentially should have in their stack, but often the why have I got it and when should I use it is the bit that's missing. It's like, there you go, there it is. Or maybe they're being trained by someone that doesn't actually do the job on a regular basis. Or they're being trained by someone who was trained by someone who might not have been trained by anyone. And there's there's lots of weak links in the process, which invariably therefore means you put them in front of a quite probably potentially a dirty data stack. And there's a crazy amount of luck that people are relying upon to get from the ideation of I need to make money to actually boarding that sale. And more importantly, keeping that relationship beyond that initial deal that they won. And as much as we can get incredibly excited about AI and automation, it's you've still got the human at the heart of that. And I still don't feel that we're doing enough with those humans to get them as turbo driven as we potentially could, because again, we're not thinking about what's in it for them, and they ultimately want to know what's in it for me. That's why they want to use this tech.
So we're coming to a close. We've got one last question. So in 2025, what can we see coming from SourceFlow? Matt, you've got marketplace partner pitch, 2 minutes starting now. And I'm not timing it, so you can say for how long you like.
It's probably about that. We've got our first true AI release. You'll be happy to know that comes out. So it's a slightly different take than how people have been doing it. And that will be an ongoing release for about 6 months, probably the first 6 months of the year, with about 3 different phases of that release. It's all linked. It's all kind of centrally linked. And that is about improving the website experience. Firstly, it's about improving the website. It's all about improving the website experience, right? It's about improving the interaction that you have between getting the right job at the right time to the right people, which is a big part of what we've always tried to do, right? Through job searches and through alerts and things like that. So we have a big update that's coming out there. That's a partnership that we got with Google, where we're launching that.
Never heard of them. Never heard of them.
No,
they're a small tech shop out of
stupid name.
somewhere in America, I think.
Got it.
The second thing, which will be launched probably first quarter, probably February, I think it'll go out, is we have what we're calling SourceFlow Experience Management, and that is a retentions tool for your clients, your candidates, and your consultants. So surveys, that type of stuff. A little bit more in depth than that, but going via WhatsApp, SMS, email, taking that data, AI summarizing the whole thing. So that's built. We're just finishing off some of the testing with that now, but that's the ability to kind of continually survey a set of people, your contractors, your temps, clients. So that's they're the two big releases that we've got for the foreseeable anyway.
Sounds exciting. Lisa, what we're going to see in 2025 from you?
Wow. So we've got an automation buddy program. So we love automation. You guys know this. We love automation for BD. We love it for recruiter productivity. We love it for leveling the playing field and helping some of our smaller clients really punch above their weight. But often what we see is that they've got this Ferrari, but it's just sat there and it's not necessarily doing what they want it to do. Maybe they've lost an automation admin, or maybe they've just lost the will to actually run it. So we're doing a lot of outsourced work via our automation buddy program just to get control of it, back to the control word, and build some more resilience back into pipelines. So that's going to be a big deal for us next year. We have a really cool Bullhorn Vision product where we work with clients, and our latest case study was Best Money I Ever Spent, where we look at their Bullhorn experience and what they've got in their tech stack and their data and their humans, and we basically create a vision for what it should be doing and getting their recruiters weaponized. And then the final thing, because we're really good at training, is we're building out a lot of training on our Recruitment Hit platform, really focused on turbo driving recruiters, making them more resilient, making them smart workers, using the technology and the data, and most importantly their time to target the right people. So I'm really excited about next year, because I keep hearing the word surviving 2025, and I'm going, no, let's
this
thrive.
This is the new normal. This is
it.
There is no
but I'm a big fan of let's thrive. A lot of our clients are, if they let themselves, would be agile, responsive, clever, not necessarily being dragged down. No one's going to give anyone permission to be next year. They've got to get on with it and make some decisions. And like I say, what I want my clients to be telling me is, this thing is really annoying me right now. I want to stop talking about it. Let's go. Let's fix it. And I'm a big fan. If we can just get these recruiters weaponized and use their time and their data and their systems more effectively, I think we'll have a really good year. Quite positive about it. Yeah.
What have you got on? Yeah.
I look back on what I said this time last year, and I said by the end of 2024, everyone would have their own personal AI agent that sounded like them, and I missed it. Doesn't exist. Isn't there? So this time, whilst I think that's going to come, and it's much closer than a lot of people know,
not far.
What we're going to do in 2025 is we're going to get rid of people's notebooks. And we're going to capture all the conversation that all the recruiters have with all of their candidates and their contacts, and then use it. Put it in the right place, so that if they choose to use AI, or if they choose to choose enrichment, or they used to choose the best training and the best motivated candidates or contacts, we're going to be trying to get so they speak to the right person first. So if you're picking up the phone, make it lighter to pick up. And if you do make it lighter to pick up with better information, you're going to get the relationship that you're trying to get. So
time is precious.
We're getting rid of books. That's what we're going to do in 2025.
Loving it.
Nice. So, I like that.
Yeah. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much. We've reached an hour. We could have spoken for about 4, so therefore we've got to bring it to a close. Lisa, thank you very much. Matt, thank you very much. And everyone, that was Kyloe Wrapped 2024. Thank you very much.